regenerative farming is basically giving back to the land whilst we're producing from it. And that's, there's a lot of ways we can do that. But I mean, for a long time, for too long, we farmed in a conventional industrialized way, which is essentially, we're taking from the earth, we're taking minerals, we're taking, and not even just taking, but putting bad things in. And we need to change that. And regenerative farming is working with nature to give back to the land while we're producing. It's unfortunately, modern conventional agriculture is essentially mining. We're going in, we're stripping areas, we're ruining soils, and now we need to heal the soil. We need to do more than just farm organically. Even we need to regenerate as we produce food, and that's the challenge we're up at. There's these wonderful cycles in nature that go round and round and round and have forever. Like, nature's already got this all worked out and has for millions of years, and we've got to pay attention to those patterns and the design of nature that exist and use that in a productive sense, which is really tricky because we're at a point where we're governed by economics, we're governed by the dollar, and as it stands, economics and ethics aren't really they don't mix that well. And in terms of nature and environment, economics doesn't really factor that in. So, we need to look at, when we're looking at regenerative farming, we need to look at, okay, well, how do we make that viable economically, and how do we make it sustainable for the land? But even not just sustainable, how do we improve it and make up for the damage that we've already done? So it's a tricky balance at the moment, that's for sure. And it's coming back to, okay, educating people that this isn't just food that's organic, this isn't just food that's better for us or lower food miles. It's actually food that's working in ways to improve the soil, improve the land, and that's through, in terms of grazing, it's through rotational grazing and organic inputs, and market gardeners rotating their crops and using in organic inputs and methods that are based off permaculture or biological farming or biodynamics, whatever you want to call it. It's calling upon tools to improve our land, improve our soil while we produce food. And that is such a big, important thing. And I think that's something that consumers have to start looking for when they're looking for food and going to the labels and all that sort of stuff. It's, how is it farmed, and is this food that I'm consuming giving back in some way? Is it leading towards being more productive than it is consumptive? I think it was Bill Mollison, he said the greatest change we can do is move from consumption to production. We're a world of consumers, that's not really going to change, but we can also consume foods and products that are more productive, and not be too consumptive. I mean, we're going to be consumers, it's inevitable, but by looking to these regeneratively farmed foods, again, we can create change by the purchases we make, choosing things that are giving back to the earth. And there's a great quote I heard a long time ago. I believe it comes from the native North Americans, and that is, we do not inherit the land from our forefathers, we borrow it from our children. And that philosophy alone is just so strong, because we're trying to leave the place better than we found it. And that's a philosophy that if we could take to life, I think we'd probably be all right. But as it stands, we're consuming, we're not thinking that way. And that's what's great even here with the chickens that I manage. They graze, they move on, and when they come back to that spot that they had been 5-6 weeks ago, it's better than when they left it. Like, the grass is greener, the soil is lusher, it's becoming darker. There's processes are helping regenerate. You can see it in the quality of the grasses and in the soil. So, you know, that's a philosophy we're trying to apply to the farming practice, which is, you know, trying to leave it better than we found it. Well, I think regenerative farming has probably been a philosophy for a lot of people over the years, and it's maybe something that got lost, you know, and I don't know for sure that it was any one person. I think, you know, there's mixes of permaculture and biodynamics and different terms of all different types of farming methods, entropics, biological farming, holistic management, which are all forms of regenerating land as we produce food. And it must be just something we lost, or, you know, maybe we're never doing it. But, you know, we've been farming for 10,000 years, and it's really only been the last 50 years that we've caused an extreme amount of damage. In the last 50 years, we've gone to highly mechanized, industrialized food systems reliant on chemical input that we know causes damage to the thing we need to survive. We're damaging the earth, and the earth feeds us. And we're doing that to try and feed ourselves. It's crazy. It's just crazy that we're feeding ourselves by destroying the very thing we need to feed ourselves.